suffocated.
Yeah. Well, I guess I keep the money.
You'd have to call in a serious crew.
Oh, yeah. Cut the walls out.
Yeah. That's happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, all of Jordan's bones are broken.
Looks like he just leapt off
Oh, he finished though. By the way, I wouldn't do it for 10 G's.
No.
I don't need the money.
If I did, I would definitely consider it. The problem is it's not just starting it, it's finishing it. I'm not sure I could.
Am I allowed to like warm up?
No. Oh, no. From 6 to midnight, man. What's going on, everybody? Dave Loughran here with the Awesemo.com strategy show. One day we'll let you in behind this. No, we couldn't do that.
This one's not happening.
Probably not. Dave Loughran with Awesemo.com. It's the NBA strategy show presented by No House Advantage. Yeah, and we have sponsors. Didn't think about that.
Yeah, that's true.
We have sponsors. With me, Josh Engleman. We're doing this all week long. Unfortunately, Clippers forced a game 6, so we're here to talk about it. Hit us up on that Twitter machine at Loughy_D, LOUGHY_D, and Josh at Josh Engleman. Breaking it down once again today, man. But I will tell you, before we get into the critical stuff for this slate, start breaking it down because it's an interesting one. And there's some price points that came way high and then some that actually went down despite better games than the players have had all season. Marcus Morris being one of those. And before we say our pleasantries and welcome you into the show, what in the world happened last night? I will say, I've been saying this. This is why I don't trust Milwaukee, man. Every time you think that they figured it out and that they're confident and riding high and they've put the pieces of the puzzle together, they go and pull some shit like this. Unbelievable collapse yesterday. And don't give me the Giannis nonsense, Josh. I'm sorry, I'm ranting here. Don't give me the Giannis stuff. He still played almost 25 minutes and they were down by a heap of points when he left the game.
I don't really know what to say. That was an embarrassment for the Bucks. I can think if they have like whatever the popular newspaper is, the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel or whatever it is, I got a headline for it. Milwaukee's worst.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's good for me. You know, I drank enough of Milwaukee's best for a while, but
did you?
No,
really?
Yeah, that was the go-to
in college,
high school too.
Yeah,
not that I drank underage.
No, of course not. But you just saw it happening.
Yes.
You probably reported it.
I did. I was a narc. And then I took their beer. Anyway, no, it was every single person for the Bucks looked like garbage. Lou Will played like he was 26-year-old Lou Will, which was just amazing to see. Which was great to have from a DFS perspective. I wasn't mad about having a ton of him, but yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't know what I was watching. I walked downstairs, you know, I took my time. I grabbed a little something to eat. I sat down and it was like 10-2 or whatever out of the gate. And then it just never got better throughout all of it.
No.
The Bucks couldn't do anything. They were 5 of 25 and above the break threes. I don't know what to say. And look, I guess the line is out for game 5. Have you seen it?
I have seen it. And
okay.
Are you surprised by it?
No, I mean, obviously I have no idea. Look, I would be truly shocked if Giannis stepped on the floor again in these playoffs. I don't know how that could possibly be. I hope that he does, but
they're still favored by 3, but it is at home.
Oh, so it has moved then quite substantially if you're seeing 3.
What did you have earlier?
I'm looking now. Okay, so this was 5 an hour ago.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And the only reason, like, I didn't see this. Ben and I were talking about it before we recorded the breakfast menu.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So the thing too is that Trae Young is going to probably be a game time decision for game 5 as well. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be interesting. It's going to be crazy. Like if Milwaukee ends up winning this series, you hope Giannis is back, but it's gone from Trae Young out and then Giannis out. Just brutal. Kawhi Leonard out. Chris Paul missed time. And let me just say, where is this? Damon says they were down 10 when he left, not a heap. I consider double-digit points being down a heap when you don't have Trae Young and they were 9.5-point dogs. So yeah, maybe it's not 30 points, but they were down double-digit points when Giannis left. Could they have come back? Sure. But there was zero reason, Josh, that they should have ever been in that position whatsoever. Not even close.
They looked like absolute shit until the moment he hyperextended his knee. We don't need to rewrite yesterday's history. They looked terrible, unequivocally terrible. Is some of that bad shooting luck? Yeah, a little bit to me. Like, I don't mind them taking so many threes, but you're going to open yourself up for a lot of variance in those outcomes. And in this case, that did not go well. So here's my question to you. I want to hit you with a couple of them. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's assume for a second that Giannis is out for the rest of the playoffs. Okay. I'll let you sneeze too. So I'll talk over.
We got something going on here.
Yeah.
Maybe
Let's assume that Giannis is out for the rest of the playoffs. Let's assume the Los Angeles Clippers win this series against the Suns. Who is the favorite in a Bucks-Clippers series? No Kawhi, no Giannis.
Well, I've already told you that I have the Clippers as seemingly a better team than other people do. I'm giving the Clippers are favored here. And I would bet the Clippers for sure to win that series. You know why? Because when it comes to the postseason and it comes to the finals, yes, it's nice to have depth. Like, depth is very important, but I'll take Paul George over Chris Middleton any day of the week. Like, to me, it's not even close. And I know I'm setting you up nice here, right? Put it on a tee for you. Drew Holiday is good, a good player, but has he been a legitimate difference maker? Not really. Defensively, he's been what you think he has.
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think he has. And defensively, I'd say he's taken a step back against some better players than we would have expected. I like the Clippers, man. And I know outside of Paul George, you could make the argument like, well, who is there? Well, Reggie Jackson's played excellent. Like, Reggie Jackson's played phenomenal basketball, and they've just come together as a team. And defensively, they can lock it down if they have to. You have Pat Bev, Marcus Morris, if he gets healthy enough, is still not a detriment to this team. Yeah, I would go Clippers. What about you?
I think the Bucks would be favored in the series. I don't know how I feel about that, but it is interesting to think like the two best players on the Clippers, I guess, are Reggie Jackson and Paul George.
Yeah, it's true.
Which, like, in the aggregate, you would take. I think you would have to take Middleton and Drew Holiday over those two. It feels weird.
I don't know if I would.
Oh, man. I don't think the gap between Paul George and Middleton is as big as the gap between Drew and Reggie Jackson.
I think the difference is that Chris Middleton is good, and then he's awful. Yeah. I know that Paul George has missed a critical free throw here and there. I get it. We can blame it on that. But over 4 quarters, it's very easy to not zoom out and be like, okay, he missed a free throw, but this went wrong. They missed 12 straight shots. You know what I mean? Like, oh, yeah. There's a lot of ways in 48 minutes that things can go wrong that lead up to you being in a position where you have to make that free throw. Shouldn't be in that position. But yeah. Middleton shot 0 for 7 from 3 last night. He took that confidence you talked about and threw it straight down the shitter. This whole Bucks team, I don't even see the purpose in betting on the Bucks anymore because I just have no idea what you're going to get from him. And Chris Middleton is one of the primary culprits. When he's good, they smoke opponents. This is true. Like, because Giannis is pretty steady, right? Giannis is pretty steady. He'll have some bad games. He'll miss some free throws. He'll take some ill-advised shots. But generally speaking, if Giannis needs to get points, he's going to get you points. Chris Middleton is the real X factor. He is the player where if he plays excellent basketball, you are crushing opponents. If he sucks, you're finding yourself trying to dig out of a hole against the Hawks who don't have Trae Young. Very simple.
I really can't stand Mike Campbell in YouTube chat. Bucks could be facing an all-star team. Engleman still have the Bucks favored. I'm not giving my opinion on the series. I think the Bucks would be favored to bet on. It's not what I think happens in the series. I think that the line would be the Bucks would be favored, given the fact that they are always favored.
It's possible. Two things. One, Jordan Burkett said Bucks would go up 2-0 to start. You're probably right. And then the Clippers would crawl back and do what they do best.
Yeah, both. How can both teams choke at the same time? Because
that's going to be tough. Yeah, that's going to be tough. Clippers would come back and win 4 straight. The second thing, though, is I have a question for you.
Okay.
Bucks, Lakers, finals, LeBron and Davis both healthy. Who's favorite?
The Lakers.
Yeah?
Yeah.
By how much?
Giannis is healthy. I like full
strength. Everyone for the Bucks. Everyone for both teams is healthy.
The Lakers are the favorites. I don't know, like -150, -160, something in that neighborhood.
All right. See, Mike Campbell, he's willing to be objective.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be. Yeah, I think so too. But I just, again, Josh, I have no faith in the Bucks right now. How can you, right? How could you look at me and be like,
do you have faith in anybody in the series?
No,
I don't.
Not at all. I have faith that the Clippers are going to scratch and claw their way to a competitive game every single day, pretty much. That's what I have faith in. I'm serious. Like, they're the one, and the Suns are a good team. The Suns are a good team. But in that Eastern Conference Finals, no, I have no idea what's going to happen at all. And if how could you?
At this point, I'm now rooting for Phoenix versus Atlanta if Trae Young can be healthy.
I'm almost rooting for Clippers versus Bucks, so neither Kawhi or Giannis can be healthy, and it'll just be hilarious.
Who do you want to win the NBA title?
For sure, the Clippers.
Really?
Which is funny, right? Because I wouldn't hold on. I wouldn't feel that way if they had Kawhi healthy. Okay. So he might be healthy. And if he is, I'll change my opinion. But I'm all about that team coming from nowhere and just because you and I both wrote them off entirely when Kawhi went down. And I'm not really going to take blame for that. They've been awesome. But that would be very cool to see the Suns win it. I don't want to see the Bucks win it. And sorry to disappoint or offend any of you Milwaukee fans. I don't think they deserve it. Like, I just don't think they deserve it. They've played. They don't deserve it.
It's a weird thing to say that they don't deserve it because it's not as if like they choose the things that are happening to them. They could just as easily win the next 2 games, go on and win the NBA title. It just feels like they don't deserve it. Like, I agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, like, what are they supposed to do differently? They could conceivably just win the next 2 games and steamroll a Clippers team that is without Kawhi Leonard because Paul George has played like 150 more minutes than anybody else in the playoffs.
Right. And Vela says, don't reward Bud for coaching like this. I mean, you're not like it's the Mighty Ducks, he said. Tommy says, why would Atlanta deserve it more, bro? What do you mean? Like, I don't really want to see Atlanta in there, to be honest, because it's Atlanta, but why would they not deserve it? Like, this team came out of nowhere. If they beat the Sixers, who really didn't deserve it, but they still went 7, they still beat them, and then they beat the Bucks. I don't know. I think they deserve it. Listen, what I'm saying, it's all nonsense anyway. Who really deserves anything? I don't know. Who cares, right? Don't take me seriously. But I look at the Bucks, and every time I watch this team play, I see just like unmitigated disaster after another, then an amazing game, then an okay game, then a horrible game. They piss me off for some reason. I don't know.
Tommy G 2K3 in chat says Bucks have been in it for the past 3 years and falling short. This is what's wrong with like media and the narratives around sports nowadays. Because that used to be the normal thing that happened. You finally made the playoffs and then you got dumped in the first round. And then you snuck out of the first round and you got beat down by the previous champ. Then you got beat down by the previous champ again. And then you knocked them off and made it to the finals. And then you didn't get that one. And Michael Jordan lost to the Pistons multiple times before he finally got over that hump. We act like people get to the playoffs and they should just already be the champs immediately. Nothing has changed. This is still the same sort of system where you kind of got to take your lumps from time to time. I don't look at the Bucks as some indictment that like, oh my God, they should have 3 titles already. I can't believe they choked for 2 straight years. Now, the things that are happening to them don't look great. Bud's adjustments don't look great. But to act, we cannot be acting like this is not commonplace for the entire history of the NBA.
Yeah, except now you can just bring on you can do what the Nets did. And if they're healthy, like, okay, if the Nets were healthy this season, they coast to the finals. No?
I don't know about coast. Are they the favorites to me unequivocally?
No. Knowing what we know, you don't think the Nets in that series against the Bucks would have won it in even I'll even say 6 just to give you the benefit of the doubt. And then they play Atlanta and you've got KD, Harden, and Irving. You don't think come on. There's no way they aren't getting to the finals. I can say that. Look,
I agree. To me, they're the favorites in that scenario. For sure, 100%, they are the favorites in that scenario. But if we're relitigating this, I'm also taking the injury away from Joel Embiid, and I think the Sixers are a little bit different if he doesn't play on a torn meniscus.
No way, dude. There's no way the Sixers beat the Nets.
I'm not saying that it's likely, but I also said that there was no way that the Hawks, without Trae Young, were going to beat the Bucks last night, and they beat them by 30.
For sure, but that's exactly why the Nets would have beat the Bucks pretty easily, because look, the Sixers. I said it all year long. They were the 1 seed without beating any legitimately good teams. Like all year long, they had a couple wins against good teams. That was it. I love the Sixers, but it is what it is. And Mike Campbell says, did the Eagles deserve a Super Bowl with Nick Foles? No, he says. Why not? Why would the Eagles not deserve? They went 13.
It's the NFL. The NFL playoffs are bullshit from start to finish.
Well, that's another thing. It's way different when it's one and done type series, right? Like I don't see what you would look at and say they didn't deserve it, right? Is there anything you could look back and say no, they didn't deserve? Why not? They smoked the Vikings. And then we had a huge offensive explosion on both sides in the Super Bowl. Yeah, I don't see why they didn't deserve it. But
the difference in the NFL is whoever wins the Super Bowl has no tie to being the best team in the NFL. Generally speaking, the best team in the NBA wins the NBA title, barring injuries.
If you were to ask me, should the Eagles have won the Super Bowl that year, my answer would be no.
Right. Yeah.
But did they deserve it with the way they played and got real hot with Nick Foles? Yeah. Why not?
The year the Giants beat the undefeated Patriots, the Giants don't become the best team in the NFL. It's still the Patriots. They're just not the Super Bowl winners.
Right. Like the Giants Super Bowl odds for the next year after the Super Bowl ended, they're not favored against the field. No way.
If they had to play again the next Sunday, they're touchdown underdogs again.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot different in basketball for sure. And we're going to see a wild finals. And Theodore, I am rooting for Chris Paul. Like I would. Like I said, if Kawhi comes back and they got both guys healthy, then give me the Suns. I like the underdogs here, and I think you could consider the Suns that for sure. Anyway,
I think every team left is an underdog now somehow.
What's that?
I feel like every team that's left is an underdog.
Well, that's the thing with Milwaukee. Like they're the one team that shouldn't be viewed that way.
Right. I don't know what to make of it anymore, man. It's so dumb. I can't take it. I just want logic to rule out one of these days.
Yeah, me too.
You know, Ben went ahead and smacked the Bucks yesterday because his book didn't move the line. So, you know, they went from minus 230 to minus 450. And obviously that didn't go well for him. Oh. And it's just one of those things where like, it sucks. You have to take that on the chin. You have to bet it like nonstop. Oh, wow, we didn't even talk about this. This is going to be funny. I said yesterday, it's free money when you can just take the odds boost for Giannis to get the double-double.
And I said, what are you saying?
And I said that it's still free money. Turns out, free money. They paid it out anyway.
What?
DK paid out the odds boost on that Giannis double-double, even though he didn't get it.
No,
I saw the tweet earlier. I saw the tweet earlier today.
Not to me, they didn't.
Yeah. Well, they did.
They would have. Well, wait. Did they pay out your bet or did they pay out the win?
I don't know. I saw Julian tweeted out. It said, all right. We'll be paying out the Giannis double boost as a winner. Money will be in the accounts in the next 24 hours. That was at 11 p.m. last night.
Oh, in the next 24. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So
I mean, it was a $25 bet. I wasn't exactly sweating it, but you take them when you get them, right?
There's Mike Campbell being wrong again. Books shouldn't do that. Congratulations. You have no idea what marketing expenses are.
If books should absolutely do that.
Yeah, like, of course. That's not a huge outlay to them.
It is a very wise decision. They already planned on paying it out. So think of this. They go into these odds boosts with the notion that they're doing this to get people onto the site. They're doing this to keep people there, to get them to deposit. This is a cost that's already out the window. And look, I'm no marketing genius. I can assure you of that. But I do understand psychology of things. And I can tell you that you are way better off in terms of your future growth paying this out and not pissing thousands of people off than being like, sorry, eat a dick.
They act like the limit on that bet wasn't 50 grand.
It was $25.
Right. Yeah.
And they know, like Jordan Burkhead said, they know everyone will just lose it again. In a sense, you're right. Like most sports bettors, the large majority are not profitable long-term. So yeah, they know even if they pay that out, it's coming back to them in spades.
Yeah. Same with DFS money when like people whine and complain about a late scratch and think that DK and FanDuel are out to get them. They're going to give it back to you because you're going to lose it. I promise.
Yeah. And with sports betting, it's even more insane.
Yeah. Look, I just don't agree with it. Well, that's why they don't let you run the sports book.
Well, anyway, Josh, we got through that, and it's time to talk Phoenix and Clippers Game 6. I'm stoked. Very excited for this one. Jordan has given up, our producer, Jordan Klein, just so everyone's aware and remembers, he has given up on his Clippers. They threw in the towel. Are you back on board, Jordan? No. So you're going with another loss tonight. Is this just like glass half empty, trying to protect yourself from feeling hurt at the end of the game? Because I understand that. Or do you really not think they have a chance?
It's inevitable they lose this game.
Wow. You miserable son of a... What? Okay. All right. Well,
that's why we don't go to him.
What? Well, when they win, we will have a conversation. But before we get to that, let's say hi to our sponsor, No House Advantage. We had a bunch of No House Advantage screenshots coming in yesterday because people were winning. Like I said, you can't give the field. You can't give your competition. It's a peer-to-peer player prop format. So you're playing against other peers just as you would on any other site. Josh, you can't give them too much credit ever, because when you look at some of the screenshots coming in for first place, even if it was chopped a couple of ways, should have been chopped way more ways than it was, like taking the over on Bogdanovich rebounds or Bogdanovich points, or the over on Lou Williams points. There were just so many easy props to hit on yesterday. You throw them at the top of the lineup. You throw them into the tournament style. Like, there were just so many ways to take advantage of that when guys like Trey go down, and the day before guys like Zubats go down. My God, it's easy money. I hate to say it like that because weird things can happen, like Atlanta winning by 20 or whatever, but it is like the most plus EV lineups you're going to make when things like that happen, because the props don't change throughout the day where they do on other books.
Yeah, and people are probably making their lineups earlier in the day, setting it and never going back to it too. So they're not dead in the water, but like they're way behind the 8 ball. Plus potentially getting overlay, plus free props and free optimals on the website. You're making a giant mistake if you're not playing there and you're trying to build a bankroll.
Yeah, if it's available in your state, definitely check it out. The optimal lineups page is free on Awesemo every day of the week. The player props tool for No House Advantage on our site at awesemo.com is also free. And if you use the promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO, you get a $20 deposit when you sign up and deposit for the first time. Jordan, are we back to first time? Yeah, back to first time users. Yeah, you sign up, deposit for the first time, use that promo code. And it's a great way to build a bankroll, man. It really is, especially on days where big name players go down, or even like not huge name players, but it's going to affect guys in the rotation that are also getting minutes. So check it out. Go to nohouseadvantage.com, download it in the App Store, download it on the Google Play Store, wherever you're at, and win some money. All right, man, let's do this. And I forgot, we go 30 minutes before I even say we're happy to have everybody with us. But hey, hit that thumbs up. We got 310 people watching right now on a Wednesday morning. Let's at least get that to 100. I'm pretty sure we can do that. If you forgot, go ahead and do that. It takes 2 seconds. And subscribe to the channel, making that push. 60,000, Josh, by NFL. I think we can do it. It might be tough because you go into the slow dog days of summer, but if it's not by the beginning of NFL, I think it'll be through the first week of the NFL.
NFL's coming soon. I had some conversations about doing some NFL content soon enough, so we'll see.
Looking forward to it. Oh, and if you want to join the channel, hit that little join down there. Become part of Team Awesemo. All those badges that you see in the chat, those are the Awesemo members. The emojis that they use that are specific to them, and we'll always try and get to your questions first because that's a priority. Like, you don't have to super chat every time you have a question. I mean, like, I'll answer questions even if you're not a member or if you don't super chat, but sometimes we get real busy on these deeper dives and live before locks and everything. So, cut you to the front of the line for sure. All right, Josh, let's talk about it. Phoenix and the Clippers, depending on where you're looking, it's a Clippers half-point favorites or it's a pick 'em. So basically it's a pick 'em, like it's a pick 'em. At this rate, if there's spots where you can get a better bet on the money line, you're just taking that anyway. But do you agree with this line today?
I was a little surprised to not see it be like Suns -1. That's a little concerning. But yeah, for the most part, I think it's spot. Look, it's not whether you want to put it at like Suns -1, Suns +1. I think pick 'em in that general area is where it should be. This feels like a coin flip for today.
I think so too. This is where I would put it as well, right around there. And I don't see any reason to assume this game isn't competitive once again. We got some props for you in a little bit as well that we'll jump into. But let's start it off with the very easy question. Paul George, captain spot. How much of Paul George in the captain spot do you look toward today?
More than the ownership. He's at 33% right now. I got him right around 40%. He's the unquestioned number one play. He was last time. He will be today. If they go to a game 7, he will be again as well. You just play him. He's the best play of the day, no matter what site, whether it's FanDuel, whether it's DraftKings, it doesn't matter. Paul George is the best option you can find today in every spot you can put him.
He's been spectacular. And obviously the reason that they're winning so many games, or they're staying competitive in all of these games. 33% projected in the captain spot on DraftKings. On FanDuel, what's his MVP ownership? 45% right now? Okay.
Yeah, I think it should be 66.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm super heavy on him there too.
There's some other good ones though. I mean, there are other players in this game that could be, the top scorers here. So
sure.
It maybe a little higher, but these things adjust throughout the day anyway. I think when you look though, and Kawhi Leonard is out, Ivica Zubac is questionable. When you're looking at what we have for the rest of this slate, Devin Booker, he's been okay, but outside of game 1, and last game he was fine, only shot 9 of 22. The peripherals have been brutal since Chris Paul returned, and you're basically just relying on huge scoring totals from Devin Booker at this rate.
Yeah, and I just keep thinking that one of these days he's going to actually hit one of those huge scoring totals. For Booker today, he's 10,200 on DK. That's the only other guy in a 5-digit price tag other than Paul George. On FanDuel, he's $500 more expensive than Chris Paul. So I slightly prefer Chris Paul on the FanDuel side, and I slightly prefer Chris Paul on the DK side just because of the savings. I see both of those guys super similar. I said it on the contenders video today. Chris Paul to me has a higher floor than Devin Booker just because he's going to do a little bit more in multiple categories. Devin Booker to me has the unquestioned higher ceiling here because if that scoring gets going and he's scoring north of 40, you're certainly going to need him. Either way, I think both of those guys are in the optimal lineup like 2/3 of the time. And it's probably like a 50-50, close to a 50-50 shot. You need them both.
Man, I forgot to mention something at the top of the show. Yesterday when we were talking about how Chuck like didn't know the names of players, Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
Almost on cue on the pregame show on Inside the NBA, he recommended that the Hawks start Jeff Teague.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Oh, yeah. But did you watch? I didn't get to watch the clip until after
somebody tagged us in it.
Right.
Yeah, or are they going to send him over from the other locker room?
You know, usually Chuck just kind of shakes it off, shrugs it off. You could tell he was legitimately embarrassed by that. And I think the show is hilarious. I don't care. I think it's funny when they don't know things because I'm not taking basketball advice and information from them. I like the comedy. It's funny. But Jeff Teague, man, why in the world would you think that Jeff, and then he tries to save himself. He's like, no, I'm forgetting the other guy. Who's the other guy on the roster? I can assure you he wasn't thinking of Skylar Mays or even Chris Dunn at that point. Lou Williams is the only guy he'd be considering, and he said it wasn't Lou Williams. So
yeah, I don't know. Brandon Goodwin is probably who he was looking for.
Maybe, but
either way, look, he's a moron.
I
hate it. I hate it so much.
Why?
If that were a podcast, I wouldn't care. If it wasn't the NBA's like sponsored programming, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I think it looks bad because it makes it it's what makes YouTube chat awful. It like perpetuates the ability to just be uninformed and poor at this.
No, I disagree. It doesn't bother me. Who cares? Now, if you have your casual fan or someone that's like actually going to them for basketball advice and to get insight,
I think that's a lot of people.
I doubt it. I doubt it. It's all in
I
fun.
think it is.
It's all in fun.
I'm not saying it's not in fun, but like I think people take that stuff seriously and they think a guy that's like the 30th best player in the NBA is dog shit because they say his name incorrectly.
Yeah, but you have a couple of things. One, Kenny is a sharp dude who knows the game. Shaq isn't nearly as uninformed NBA wise as Chuck is when it comes to the players, and Ernie's good too. So it's not like all of them are the same way. It's just Chuck once in a while thinks that the guy on the other team is on the other team,
which is mind boggling to me. I think I can name 15 guys on every roster at this point because we talk about it every day. You should just fall into that correct information by having to cover basketball for the entire year.
Yeah, but they don't really cover basketball.
Oh, maybe they shouldn't call the show Inside the NBA.
They don't. Chuck doesn't know bench rotations. Come on now. Come on.
I know that to me, that's the problem.
All right. So what, I mean, see, this is where I can't.
You can be entertaining and smart at the same time. You don't have to be a complete moron too.
Let's replace him with like another Kenny Smith then.
No, he's just an entertaining person that isn't an idiot.
He's the most boring part of the show. If he
agree
on the show, everyone would be like, oh, maybe he'll be back someday. Not sure. But if he is, I
agree.
He isn't okay.
Like I really enjoyed Draymond being on there.
That was fun.
You could be smart and funny and have the correct information at the same time. It's not like they're mutually exclusive.
I know, but I'm saying the alternative to finding someone like Chuck, it's not worth it.
How do people just fail at this over and over again? Engleman, yesterday you said you liked the show. Now you hate it. I've never said I liked it. I've only ever said I've hated it. This is not a new take. We've had these conversations on the show before. I hate Inside the NBA. I don't watch it. I don't like it.
I thought yesterday you did say you liked it.
You know that that's not true.
No, I swear to God, I really thought you said you enjoyed it. I'm serious.
No, I don't. I don't ever watch it. I actively leave the TV when it's on.
Huh. Okay. I thought I heard something.
You know that we have talked about this. I hate you so much. You know we have talked about this on this show that I don't like it for the exact reasons I'm stating right now.
Agree to disagree.
I hate you so much.
Do you think Chris Paul...
I shouldn't have got so damn passionate about it, because then you'd have been like, yes, he's been saying this for a while, but because it's, you know, that it's irritating me, it's playing into your hands, and I hate myself for it. I hate myself.
Do you think Chris Paul... Okay, let me ask you this. Who is your favorite captain not named Paul George today?
Reggie Jackson.
It is. Okay. Really?
Yeah.
Because basically the way ownership is shaking out right now is George and then 3 sons, Booker, Paul, Ayton, and then Reggie Jackson.
Yeah, I think Reggie Jackson's getting undersold there. I think Chris Paul is getting dramatically oversold. I think that extra $1,400 is really important between the two. I only have Reggie Jackson behind Chris Paul by 2.5 points. So I just think it's a little bit easier to fit Reggie Jackson in those spots. It's not that I don't like Chris Paul. It's not that I don't like Devin Booker. Chris Paul also has a fairly low standard deviation as a player. So to me, his expanse of his potential outcomes isn't as big. So I would rather get to, all things equal, I would rather get to Devin Booker over Chris Paul, because I think the ceiling is so much higher on someone like Devin Booker.
It is. And in a spot like this, you're not as worried about his floor, because
right,
it's just like you're playing for the win here. Yep. DeAndre Ayton's interesting to me, but it's tough to get behind Ayton on a regular basis. Does he have a decent ceiling? Yeah, we saw it in game 4, but all in all, he's been producing pretty modest production at his price point. I don't think he's overpriced. Right. I mean, this is the same price yesterday that John Collins was at, and I'd still rather play DeAndre Ayton at 8,800 than John Collins. But is he someone that's viable for you in the captain spot at 10% ownership?
I think that's proper ownership. And by the way, I think that you and I, are we both going with the assumption that Zubats isn't playing?
Yes. But I mean, okay. I got to say that he's questionable, but I do not
Sure.
think he's going to play.
Yeah. So I'm going with that assumption. I actually like Ayton here on, like, not necessarily on paper, but just mentally. I think that they adjust to the small switchy lineup a little bit different. They're a little bit more prepared for it. And I think that Ayton will have a significantly better game than he did the last time out, where he was just simply not good. I don't think we see that again. The problem is, I think he's properly owned. I have him in the optimal lineup 54.1% of the time. We have him projected for 53.6% ownership. So we're talking about a 0.5 percentage point. I don't have a hot take on Ayton. He's probably in like half your lineups.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think it gets really interesting when you get down to some of these value options, because DeMarcus Cousins played 11 minutes last game. His price went from, and I'm just using DraftKings pricing for now, because these cheaper guys, like the real dirt cheap punts, are sometimes more of a better conversation piece over there.
Yeah,
it went from $1,000 to $4,800. Mind you,
he's unplayable.
He played 11 minutes. Okay. He played 11 minutes and had like 2.3 or whatever it is fantasy points per minute. He was a top value option, hands down. Cheapest you're going to get, literally bottom minimum salary. But now this is incredible. He's more expensive than Pat Bev. He's more expensive than Marcus Morris, whose price actually went from 44 down to 4,000 after playing 39 minutes. He played more minutes. He played 14 more minutes than he had in any other game in this series, and his price went down.
He's played more minutes in that game than Cousins has in the entire series, maybe the entire playoffs.
And his price went down.
Yeah, you can't play Boogie Cousins today. You just can't. And
what
you should play
Morris?
A shit ton of Marcus Morris.
Yeah, I was going to say that price to me is extraordinarily odd. And yeah. I don't see any way I can get away from that whatsoever.
No, the weirder one to me is that Nick Batum is $3K. We've got him projected for 25% ownership. I assume we just have Zubats in. Is that the case? Yeah, we do. So that would go up, because I was going to say, like, Nick Batum should be way more owned than that at 3K, given the fact that he played 30 minutes the last time out, because I expect him to play 30 minutes again here. But yeah, Marcus Morris, if he's playing 34, 36 minutes, I don't expect him to just hit jumper over jumper over jumper on Devin Booker again, but he's 4K. The fact that I don't understand how he's cheaper than DeMarcus Cousins. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. And pretty much the center rotation last game was just Morris and Cousins, outside of like a few minutes where Lou went really small, like he generally does. And that's what we got. And that's kind of what you and I expected to see, was Morris to get the, I didn't expect 39 minutes from Morris, but expected elevated minutes if he was healthy. He shot well. He's going to need to do that again. But at this price point, you don't need him to shoot, 9 of 16. And what was he, 6 for 6 to start the game? You're not going to necessarily need that. You just need him to not be awful. Marcus Morris, a top value play on the slate for sure. What about some other value options? Because yesterday it was easy once we got the Trae Young news. Today, a little bit more difficult, but I do feel like DraftKings has priced a few of these guys lower than they should be. Nick Batum being another one of those.
I want to touch on one thing that AKA Hollywood just said in chat, because I could see how that wouldn't make any sense. Josh said he liked Chris Paul over Booker for the savings. Now he says he likes Booker over Paul for the ceiling. It is both of those things, but I want to make sure I explain why. I think Devin Booker is a much better captain option than Chris Paul, because I think the ceiling of Devin Booker would push him into a more likely captain option. Because of the savings, I think Chris Paul is a significantly better flex option. And then I think that he is in the optimal lineup a little bit more frequently. But if I'm splitting the difference, when we're talking about ceiling, that puts Devin Booker in the captain spot more frequently for me. So in theory, it is both of those things. And I know that sounds preposterous, but I wanted to make sure that I distinguished why I was saying that.
Gotcha.
Value options, eh? Uh-oh. Is that real?
That's what I was just checking right now. I have alert. No. I have notifications on all of the.
It's not.
Yeah, I have notifications on all of the NBA stuff, and I didn't get anything. So
no, it doesn't mean it's not real, but it hasn't been announced. So if it's not coming out of one of the 2 or 3 big ones, it's not news.
God, would that be brutal or what?
Oh God, I mean, it was my assumption when I saw it, but who the hell knows? I'm no doctor. The YouTube chat is, though.
Like
Luke Kennard.
What's that?
Luke Kennard.
Well, hold on. Talk to me about Batum first, though, because he played 30 minutes last game. He only took 2 shots. He wasn't particularly good, but he went. This is another one. Did you see what his salary went from since last game?
No.
Okay.
I just know that it's $3K now.
It went from 5,000 to 3,000.
Look, I have him in the optimal lineup 54% of the time. I like getting to Nick, but no, yeah, wildly too cheap. I assume his ownership will be pretty comparable to that when you if and when we get the Zubats news. And at 3K, I'm still probably a little bit interested in him if Zubats is in as well.
And you're right. Right now, ownership has Zubats in, but when he's out, there's no doubt Batum's ownership skyrockets. He dropped $2,000. It's crazy since the last game. I can't explain it. Now, the other value options, right? Like there are still some. Cameron Johnson is still cheap. There are like Luke Kennard is not, it is what it is, but he's very, very cheap. Pat Beverly is still cheap. None of these guys are going to get you excited, Josh, but there are still many different ways to make decent lineups tonight with these cheap options.
I don't know about decent lineups, but there are definitely ways to make lineups. That's for sure. No, it's a much thinner proposition today, especially because of the DeMarcus Cousins price bump. Like I got Kennard in the optimal about 18% of the time. That's where we have his ownership. I'm not a huge Cam Johnson fan in this spot, but he's only pulling 9% ownership. I think that's proper. Cam Payne at 4,200, getting 10% ownership. That's probably about right. I don't see a lot of value that can be squeezed out right now. I'm anxious to see how it moves around if Zubats ends up being ruled out. But the guys that I'm looking to are like maybe Terrence Mann is a little underowned. I think Batum is underowned given the Zubats stuff, but I can't really read into it all that much. I think we're pretty dialed in. And that's what happens after, 6 games of the same series or 5 games of the same series heading into game 6. Yeah, heading into game 6, like it just all becomes way more efficient and way harder to find any little edges.
If that's the case, well, yeah, but right. Well, it's not hard to find value tonight because DraftKings just threw some of these prices through the floor, but it is going to be more difficult to find the edges for sure. Now,
yeah, like the likelihood of having like the amount of duplication on a slate like this goes up dramatically because of the changes that they've made.
one way to really get away from that, though, is to go with a captain that might not be as popular. And I think right now, Reggie Jackson's probably your answer.
Absolutely. 100%. Reggie Jackson is without question my favorite captain in a large field GPP if he's projected for 7% ownership.
Right. He's going to play 38 to 40 minutes, book it,
Yep.
right? Like you can look at last game, Reggie Jackson played 38 minutes, 38 and a half minutes, but he lost minutes. He lost a minute or so in the blowout run anyway. So
yeah,
Reggie Jackson to me is the clear top captain option outside of Paul George if you're talking tournaments, because then it opens things up. With Paul George at captain, you're going to be funneled into a lot of the same builds. With Reggie Jackson, it's not to say that nobody's going to have him at captain. They will, but it's going to open a lot up to where maybe that Luke Kennard doesn't have to be Luke Kennard anymore. You know, where in a Paul George lineup, it might have to be. I'm curious. Actually, let's do this. Do we have a Hall of Fame segment, Jordan? Let's hit on Hall of Fame. And as Josh was saying earlier, if Inside the NBA was a podcast, he listened to it, but not as a show. If you want to listen to this show as a podcast, go to Apple Podcasts, go to Spotify, wherever you want to listen to podcasts, we got you covered. And leave a rating and a review. Leave your email or your Twitter handle with that. Every single week, we dish out a free Awesemo Plus Platinum subscription. Along with that, right? Anybody that finishes top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, this is where we hit that Hall of Fame segment, wins a $100 value Awesemo Plus Platinum subscription. All you have to do is download the avatar at awesemo.com/avatar, the Awesemo avatar. Rock that avatar in your contest on whatever site you're on. You finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, and you tweet us at Awesemo HOF, and you see it right there up on the screen. Awesemo HOF, Awesemo Hall of Fame, and include Josh and myself in that as well. We like to see when people win. You get that free month of Awesemo Plus. Everything on the site: ownership, player projections, top stack tool, boom bust tool, top pitchers tool, MMA, NASCAR, PGA, UFC, basketball, baseball, football, all of that. Everything for the month is included in that monthly package. And of course, all of the tools built by, used by, won millions of dollars with by Alex Baker, Awesemo himself, the #1 ranked DFS player in the world. We've got an incredible amount of people working behind the scenes on these tools every day. Premium Slack chat as well, where you have office hours with the pros answering your questions every day as well. And there's no reason not to be at awesemo.com, but hey, maybe you're not in the position to do that yet. This is the best way to do it. Let's take a look at some of the winners, Josh. We've got Brian here. Thanks to the entire Awesemo crew for the work you do. Great tools and great advice. That's a nice win right there. You'll love to see it. Who do we got up next, Jordan? Let's keep this train rolling. You got, what's that say, JTE? First optimal lineup win in the books. Time to build from here. 1 in the 25. This goes a long way. Listen, man, if it's first place, I don't care how much money it is. We'll throw it up there for you. We got the thousands. We got the hundreds. We got less. Top Shot, GG808. Appreciate the insight. Love the banner and the expertise. First takedown, bit of a split, but we'll take it. Cheers. Hope Giannis is all right. Don't we all? And here, listen, here was the no-house advantage when I was talking about. 13-way split at the top. Bryn Forbes for the win. Still, nice little $400 solid bankroll builder on no-house advantage, Josh. And you take advantage of the Lou Williams over prop, Bogdanovich over prop. That's just Kevin Huerter over prop. It's just kind of how it works when you lose your best player, isn't it?
It is. And I don't want to be the guy that rains on this parade. I do want to make sure that we point out that if you finish third and you chop that third place with like 800 people, you do not get a free month. You got to be up there without the chops. It's all detailed at awesemo.com/avatar, but we can't pay out on 800 person chops. Otherwise we're not going to be a site anymore. Yeah. So you got to be up there pretty clean in that top 3.
And this isn't just basketball either. Any sport.
No.
It doesn't matter what sport it is. So
yeah.
Awesemo.com/avatar. Check it out. And of course, go to tweet us at Awesemo HOF. Even if you have a win you're proud of that doesn't qualify, but it's still a big win, we're happy to throw it up there as well. We'll do the bragging for you. So you get featured on our Hall of Fame segment day and night, baby. All right.
We're happy to shout out all these wins.
Exactly.
But they don't all relate. They don't all get you a free month.
Right. But some people just like to get the shout. We get a lot of people that are already premium subs that are, still tagging Hall of Fame because why not?
Right.
Because it's fun to see your name up there.
Yeah.
Optimal lineup right now, Josh. Let's say you're throwing a lineup in cash. What is it?
All right. My optimal right now, Paul George at captain, Booker, Ayton, Jackson, Batum, Kennard.
Okay. What is your top Reggie Jackson lineup right now?
Reggie Jackson at captain, Paul George, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, Marcus Morris, Nick Batum.
I mean, that's so chalky, but that's the sexiest lineup you could make, I think, on the site.
But what's crazy is it's not. If Reggie Jackson's 7% owned, like that construction itself is probally a lot, but you're immediately removing 93% of lineups by having Reggie Jackson at the top.
That you're right. But let me rephrase it then. Of the Reggie Jackson captain lineups, that'll be a popular one.
Yes, it would. I think you could get a little bit weirder, go into something like this. This is my third Reggie Jackson lineup. You're giving up a couple extra points, but obviously Reggie Jackson, George, Booker, Paul, Batum, Kennard. That leaves 1,100 on the table as well.
George, Booker, who in Batum?
Paul, Batum, Kennard.
So no Marcus Morris. Okay.
Yeah, and that leaves 1,100 on the table. That one is not going to have a lot of duplication.
Huh. That's actually an interesting pivot. You don't feel good about Luke Kennard at all, but
no.
whose minutes would Luke Kennard need to siphon off if he were to play additional minutes?
Maybe Marcus Morris's knee acts up a little bit. They got to go a little bit different of a direction. I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Terrence Mann.
I was going to say Terrence Mann is one of them. Marcus Morris played a few minutes at the 4 because he was on the floor with Cousins for a period of time there. There's ways he could do it.
Yeah, maybe Beverly gets ejected,
and Reggie Jackson's at the point. Right, I was going to say the same. There are ways Luke Kennard could get additional minutes, or he just starts shooting the lights out.
Yeah, you don't need much at 1,800.
No, you really don't. And he played a lot of his minutes with Batum on the floor anyway, so it's not like you're worried about Batum and Kennard in the same lineup. I like that.
On average, Kennard shows up in the optimal utility spot with an average score of 17.8 fantasy points. So that means you can probably get him into an optimal at like 15 or 16.
And it definitely okay, what's the difference? Let's close with this. What is the difference? The driving or the biggest difference? And I meant to mention too, sorry guys, NBA Big Board is free today. MLB Top Pitchers tool, awesome tool, really great tool. And PGA Pro Plays, all of those free at awesemo.com. So if you're not ready to join yet and sign up like as a paid subscriber, whether weekly, monthly, annual, any of that stuff, check out the free tools at least. Wet your feet a little bit before you dive in. That's usually premium content too. We rotate stuff in front of paywall each day so you can get a look. What is the difference, because I don't remember, between Morris and Kennard? What does that get you to?
What do you mean?
Okay, so the one Reggie Jackson lineup that had Marcus Morris. The other one had Kennard and no Marcus Morris.
Oh, yeah.
What was the upgrade from
giving? I gotcha. All right, so you're going from Marcus Morris to Batum. So you're taking a slight step back there, but you're going up from Ayton to Booker.
Well, no, you're going Marcus Morris to Kennard, aren't you? Kennard's not in both of them.
Yeah, I guess so. In theory, yes. So Morris to Kennard, Ayton to Booker.
See, like that. That's interesting because Booker has the monster ceiling. Okay. That's not bad.
No, I don't, like leaving the money on the table. Like that's not a lineup that's going to get duped all that often.
Like median outcome for Booker and Ayton, how similar do you think it is?
Based on my projections, Ayton is in the optimal with a median of 40, Booker 45.
So it's actually not that big of a difference. What about
relative to salary? Like obviously Booker should be higher too.
Right. But what about Morris and Kennard?
Morris 28 fantasy 28.4 is what you're looking for normally. Kennard was 17.8. If we're looking at just their 30th percentile outcome of, so like a downside scenario, but still in the optimal, it's 26 for Morris, 16 for Kennard.
And what are the chances of being in the optimal for Morris and Kennard?
Morris 50%, Kennard 18.
Okay. But then again, you're playing the probabilities here, and the fact that most people are going to be going to Morris over Kennard makes sense. Did we hit 100 likes yet? We're at 99 likes, Josh.
Hit the like button, everybody. I haven't asked yet. That's why we only have 2 digits of likes.
99 likes. We'll hit it any minute now.
Oh yeah.
Heart of Pack says Chris Paul or Drew Holiday in the Wednesday, Thursday DraftKings slate. I haven't looked at that, but I'm gonna go Holiday because there's very little expectation that Giannis is gonna play.
Yeah, I'm going to assume that it's Holiday as well. I don't know any of the salaries, so I'm going to look quick. But projections. So Drew Holiday is 8,300, and who was the other one?
Chris Paul.
Chris Paul is 8K. Oh yeah, that's Drew by.
Gotta be Drew, right? Yeah.
Yeah, by a lot.
It's gotta be Drew. You have to. Fun show.
Was a fun show.
Got to talk about the Atlanta Hawks once again, defying all odds. And
who wins tonight?
The Milwaukee Bucks just shitting all over themselves. I'm going Clippers,
wins tonight,
bro.
Okay.
Clippers bring it 7, even though Jordan thinks that they're the worst team ever. He's actually said that. I think the Clippers, if the Suns win, I'm not surprised. But yeah, I like the Clippers.
Spoiler alert on the breakfast menu, which should be out around noon today. Both Ben and I are on the Suns.
Contenders is already up too.
They are. When you're good,
no one gives the Clippers any love. No one gave the Clippers any love last game. And they just keep doing what they do. I'm a Tulsa Dog says, only thing Laffy can't sell is that YouTube chat is pretty cool to Josh. Yeah, I love YouTube chat. I think Josh, the thing is though, Josh, this is his lifeblood. He won't admit this to you, right? But he loves the YouTube chat. If you watch, yes, you do. If you watch the Deeper Dive, you are in there in chat more than I am. And you're not even on the show.
Well, somebody's got to do it, man.
See what I mean? See, he gets his rocks off. So don't stop doing what you're doing, fellas. Whether it's Antoine, Mike Campbell, I don't care who you are. Don't stop doing what you're doing. He loves it. He needs this. He's like a leech to. It's like a leech to blood.
I love the YouTube chat for the process show. They are my people.
Okay.
The rest of you jokers can beat it.
That's not true. You love this stuff. So do I. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. If it didn't exist, you wouldn't know what to do with yourself.
I know. I would have all this extra happiness going through my body. It would be weird as hell.
Justin says YouTube chat causes his 6 to midnight. Yeah, you know what? You're not wrong, dude. It probably does. I saw
Thinking
that microphone
of YouTube
around
chat is whatever the inverse of Cialis is.
We appreciate you guys, as always, for hanging out. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Do it once again. I mean, we're going to have a ton to talk about for that game tomorrow. This is good. We don't know Trae Young's status. We're assuming Giannis is out. The Hawks just knotted it up at 2. I'm very excited. Despite all of the injuries, it is fun to talk DFS when you have these type of scenarios. It just is, Josh. DFS becomes more interesting when we're breaking down something that we haven't seen 5 times before.
If this breaks the way that I think it is, I think we're going to see Giannis and Trae Young as questionable while we do the strategy show tomorrow. And that show is going to be full on useless. So make sure you're tuning in tomorrow because Laffy and I are going to go an hour on nothing.
Pretty much so.
I mean, we usually go a half hour. Might as well go the full hour.
Jim said, oh, come on, Josh, you're the best at what you do. And no one better. Laffy is the sidekick. It's funny you say that because somebody called Josh the sidekick on Twitter yesterday with the Batman and Robin comment.
This Jim newbie guy, man.
We'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Thursday, strategy show presented by Sidekick That. No,
Sidekick. I'm Batman.